Hello and welcome to another Company of Heroes 3 game. My name is Fancy Josh, and today I've got a game for you between Wolfe as our British player. His opponent today is going to be Big Blob Cheese as our Wehrmacht. Map today is going to be Semois. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Please correct me if I'm not. Y'all let me say Warmachekt for about 30 videos before anybody said anything. In any case, this is a I want to say that this is a Company of Heroes 1 map. It was definitely in Company of Heroes 2. I think it's a pretty unpopular in Company of Heroes 3. I see a lot of players banning it. I can understand why that might be, but personally I think it's a really cool map. So you got these large bodies of water dividing you from the center of town here, where there actually isn't a ton of resources. It's mostly about the victory points. Same on the sides here. You have a ton of guaranteed resources, or I should say resources attached to your HQ sector that give you the potential for some very high income, and it is tough to deny your opponent any sort of meaningful income. Well, so our British player is opening with a crazy little opening here. 4 engineers, 4 Royal Engineers. His opponent, of course, is going for a recon vehicle. Don't see this very often in 1v1. I actually think it's criminally underrated. It's also adding on 2 heavy machine guns and going for the terror doctrine to give him that stealth with these heavy machine guns. And you can see he's picking up all sorts of territory with that unit. German player putting down some barbed wire. Love to see it in the early game, making his opponent's life more difficult. Can't quite decide if that barbed wire is the way that he wanted it to be. Fixing it now. And a little bit of a quiet start here. I think the British player is rightly playing scared of his opponent's heavy machine guns, potentially. Of course, he doesn't know that they're there explicitly, but he might guess. And this is a nice little trap he's setting for his opponent here. Wolfe falling for it. Hook, line, and sinker is going to have to get out of there. Fight breaking out on this side. Oh my god, that's 6 Royal Engineers now. Our British player is definitely memeing. That said, I am interested to see how this works out for him long term. We'll withhold judgment until we see how well it does. So, machine guns lurking around. Our German player has added on a grenadier, chasing these Royal Engineers off the island here. Gonna pick up this manpower point. So what's interesting about this British player's build is that he has a lot of capturing power early. It's relatively cheap as far as manpower is concerned. But of course he does not have any sort of range. You know, he's all about those close range battles. And we'll see how that works out for him. I mean, the center of this map is fairly dense. So, you know, if he can get into close quarters combat here, or get some nice flanks with these flame engineers, then it could definitely work from this heavy machine gun running from cover to cover, managing to evade those flame engineers. That was crazy, using cover the entire way. He's going to suppress those Royal Engineers. There is another one in the area. So the question is, where does our British player go from here? His opponent is getting relatively close to wanting to add on a scout car, if you ask me. So we could see a armored car next, but I'm wondering if something about this meme build is going to continue. Royal Engineers barely escaping. Recon vehicle getting around. Royal Engineers trying to flank this other heavy machine gun are going to make it happen without being suppressed by the heavy machine gun in the house. Well done there. Fight happening here in the middle. Grenadiers trying to push into these Royal Engineers. Can't really chase effectively because That's not something you want to do. Face check an engineer hiding behind a corner. And yeah. What did our British player just do? I think he added on... Yeah, he did add on his platoon command posts. So I am thinking we're going to see him do some armored cars here, but now as I'm saying that out loud, it just doesn't feel like that's what's going to happen. Maybe I'm being too suspicious. Grenadiers losing one fight and winning the other. Pioneers coming to help, going to force these engineers back. Have a machine gun also in the area. Our British player did just lose one of his Royal Engineers. Not the end of the world, of course, but I'm sure he would have liked to get that squad out of there. Okay, so I think I know where our British player is going. So he has gone for the Canadian Shock Battle Group. He's adding on the incendiary munitions now. And I think he's got something special in store for us with a bunch of flamethrowers. That said, he is adding on the armored car now, which I think is a fine choice. German preempting that with a Jaeger squad of his own. I expect we'll see him upgrade those with Panzerschrecks. So I am recording this on today. Today is April 23rd. So the patch is just 6 days away. And I am very, very excited for that tuning patch. I assume if you're watching this video, you are as well. I'd love to hear what you're looking forward to. There's a lot of discourse on Reddit. Some of it's silly, some of it's serious. I have my own thoughts, but I'm going to withhold my opinion for the short term there. That is a German mine there. Very deep, planted by this... I believe it's planted by this recon vehicle. Indeed it is. Scout car, armor car on the field. Gonna be helping with all these random infantry squads around. Panzerschrecks coming around the church, though. Wanting a piece, not quite in range. Armored car trying to get out to max range here. Defended by 2 Royal Engineers. Nicely done. Keeping that armored car safe behind that infantry right. That's how you want to do it. You want your infantry in front of your vehicles in general. Especially these lighter vehicles with how fragile they are. Heavy machine gun, hide in a bush. Classic heavy machine gun strat. It's locking down that island, making sure nobody's going to steal his fuel. So, what's interesting is that both players seem fairly content to just kind of let the other have half the map. And I think that's a little unusual, even for this map. This map can get a little stalemate-y like this, where both players just have half the map, and they're content with that, and they try and tech up. But, you know, I've cast games on this map before, and those players were being very, very aggressive, taking away territory. So I'd love to see our players doing that, but no big deal there. Now, those pyrotechnics, Royal Engineers, absolutely wrecking the heavy machine gun there, and I'm 90% sure, and let me check here before I put my foot in my mouth. Yeah, so they can throw the Mills bomb. These Royal Engineers can. And that thing combined with this incendiary munitions just makes it deal a ton of damage. I think that this incendiary munitions upgrade undersells just how strong the ability is, because not only does it increase damage in general, it not only does it have a damage over time, it feels like it has a higher initial damage, in my opinion. So, German player did add on a scout, but unfortunately for him, getting caught by this armored car. Armored car gonna be able to barely pick it up there. Panzerschrecks out of position, fighting that flame pioneers there, flame engineers rather, trying to pick them up on the retreat. Probably not. Oh, did manage to get him. That's nice for our German player. So, you know, this build is definitely a meme, and we're seeing why it might not be as good as you might think, right? These engineers have very low health. The whole squad only has 380. compared to something like even an infantry section. Oh, wow. The, okay, well, that was an interesting trade. So those Jaegers just went down to the armored car and Royal Engineer combo, but the car went down as well. Royal Engineers did make off with that Panzerschreck, so that's nice for him. Adding on 2 more Royal Engineers. The meme continues. Big Blob Cheese is taking this game seriously. Adding on that Panzerjäger there, or that Jaeger there. And our British player is adding on an AT gun. Clearly worried about some vehicles coming out from his opponent, and I think he has every right to be. That said, I don't think our German has teched up very far. Let's see here if it let me. This UI is, so I don't know if you can see on the right here, I can't actually click any of these, so I have to use the hotkeys, but only under certain circumstances. It's such a... The UI could use a little work, but I'm not going to complain. Yeah, so our German has not unlocked his support elements. He also hasn't gone for the Panzer Company. He does have quite a bit of fuel and munitions, fuel and manpower there. He's nowhere near having that Tiger. So, you know, feels like he might want... He feels like he's going to save up, but I don't know if I agree with this decision. I'd like to see him either think about some support company elements or, Panzer building. Yeah, that's the technical word for it. The Panzer building. Yeah, Panzer Company. We got there in the end. Fights all over the place here. Losing another Royal Engineer there is our British player. They could just see just how fragile they are. What I was trying to say earlier is that these Royal Engineers only have 380 health, right? Compare that to something like an infantry section that has 470, or even a rifleman squad that has 630 health. Let's take a look at these Jaegers. Yeah, 550 there. So way more health. And you can just see just how fragile these units are on the retreat, right? So, that said, they have extremely high utility in the form of these flamethrowers. I don't think Royal Engineers get health or defenses over time. Well, they get 15% harder to hit at level 1. Oh, and they get another 20% at level 2, so they're okay in terms of their scalability, in terms of tankiness, but ultimately, obviously there's better choices, so. Royal Engineers back up to 7. Looks like our British player has researched the infantry training, giving him access to those level 1 units right off the rip. And it looks like our German player is going to add on that Panzer Company. Heavy machine gun getting flanked by these Royal Engineers. Both players seemingly going deep into their opponent's territories to pick up some resources for themselves. Ultimately, those munitions don't matter a whole lot, right? The game, this map in particular, is all about the victory points, in my opinion. And speaking of which, our British player has done a significantly better job controlling those points with his 1.5 million Royal Engineers. Flank coming in here on this Grenadier squad. They are not going to be able to stay here very long. Okay, so I really like this from our German. He teched up to the Panzer Company, and he's added on these Stoßtruppen squads. I'd love to see him build another one, to be totally honest with you. These Truppen ought to absolutely wreck these engineers at pretty much any range. The engineers, of course, want to be close, but the Stoßtruppen are going to do well at all ranges. So I'm excited to see him make use of those squads. Looks like our British players added on some minesweepers. It does appear that he got wrecked by at least 1 mine, maybe 2. It kind of feels like there were 2 mines there at some point. from that recon vehicle. I love how active our German is being with the recon vehicle. He's sending it into a territory, and then he's immediately retreating. Now this is a little bit of an over-response here. Of course, I'm kidding. He's just moving out of his base, but 3 squads is definitely going to be able to deal with this engineer. Might even be able to save the point there. It's going to be close. Is going to stop short, though. But those engineers can't stay for very long. And what a silly game this has been. Troopin forcing into this house here. Heavy machine gun and support. Wouldn't mind seeing a grenade. There it goes. Royal Engineers not seeing it in time. Barely seeing it in time. Running back in the house, of course. And look how low their health is. I mean, these Troopin just do so much damage. And keep in mind, these engineers are in a building taking reduced damage, so... Now, I'd love to see our Grenadiers, our German player, reinforce the squad, which he's going to do, which is absolutely perfect, right? He's using his less valuable, lower DPS unit to reinforce his more valuable high DPS unit. And he did it twice, right? The squad is back up to 4 members again. Full health. Beautifully done. Keeping that squad out on the field and active. That's a great use of your Grenadiers. British player has gone up to 2 AT guns, clearly anticipating some vehicles from his opponent, and here comes the Panzer IV, so he was absolutely right in his decision to add on 2 of those. And I'm over here chuckling to myself about how silly this game is. I mean, it's definitely a meme, and our British players having fun with it. He might end up winning this game, which I don't know what that says about the state of the game. I'm joking, of course, but yeah. Oh, and you know, something I totally didn't talk about is the fact that our British player has gone for this Demolition Engineers perk, which you never see, right? Because everybody goes for the Crocodile. So now they can throw those mill bombs. They have increased health. So that's actually crazy to me because their health is still only 380. I don't actually know what a Royal Engineer's health is to begin with, so... And wow, look at these Troopin just absolutely shredding those engineers in cover. More engineers behind, though. Very cool. So he does have to upgrade his engineer. Okay, so this is a Royal Engineer with 380. This is a Demolition Engineer, also with 380. Now my question is, does the veterancy bonus only affect... Does it only affect their veterancy upgrades? AT guns getting some good work on that Panzer IV. Sorry, I'm so distracted by our British player's build. I just can't help it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look up these demolition engineers after this. So they do get +1 squad member, a veterancy 3, but so do the Royal Engineers. So I don't know. Clearly, I don't know what I'm talking about here. Yeah, increased durability, flamethrowers, and demolition charges, and anti-mill bombs, and normal engineers can be upgraded. So I would expect to see a stat difference there, but I just can't see it, so there's probably something I'm overlooking here. Could be something like a base, chance to dodge on these engineers, something like that just doesn't show up in the tooltips here. Both players fighting over this central point, trying to stay in this game. British player has, like I said, done a much better job handling the victory points here, but his opponent composition is looking really, really strong here. He has answers to all 2 of the things his opponent is doing. And if his opponent wants to start doing a 3rd thing, like vehicles, our German player does have some light answers to that. Troopin continuing to be MVP here. Leveling up quickly. Flamethrowers everywhere. Now these flamethrowers do debuff tanks, right? So it slows their movement speed. Or acceleration and deceleration, I should say. AT guns, not quite going to finish them off there. Just losing vision at the last second there. And engineers just freaking everywhere. Everywhere you look, they're like ants. I guess that's what happens when you have, what is that? Up to 9 of them. That's, oh, that is so ridiculous. You know, I don't think I mentioned it at the start of this video, but this was posted to Discord by Wolfe. I didn't read anything about it. I just saw that it was a... I honestly, I just saw it. I didn't read anything about it. Didn't read any of the comments around it. I think one thing I did see was he asked something like, what did he say? It's like, is this normal, or is this... Oh, he said, is this a good composition? Something like that. So clearly he's making it work. Whether it's a good composition or not, I can't say. I would say it probably has some weaknesses, but our German player may not be exploiting them to their fullest. Quiet down a little bit here. German player has added on a second Panzer there. Now these Panzers, you know, these Royal Engineers do literally nothing to the Panzer Force, and other than debuff them, right? Now the AT guns, of course, that's what they're for, but I think our German has an opportunity here to potentially spread out his tanks to multiple areas on the map and avoid these AT guns, at least with one of his vehicles. Doesn't look like he's willing to do that. Focusing both his tanks on the middle, trying to deny this capture from happening. Royal Engineers from all angles coming in here. AT guns getting set up. Getting one penetration on that front Panzer there. Pioneers trying to repair mid-fight. Oh, big hit from that one. What did he... Oh, I think that was 2 shells in one. Just looked like just a crazy amount of damage all at once. Panzer IV sitting at max range here, plugging away at his opponent. It is working for him. Oh my god. How many is that now? Is that 11? Yeah, that's 11 engineers. Good god. I think it's because he keeps calling in this demolition engineering ability. So that's freaking hilarious. Oh, and they come in with flamethrowers. Okay. Wow, this is out of hand. I mean, look at his pop cap too. It's only 54. That's so ridiculous. That's so ridiculous. AT guns coming back in. Looks like they might want to fight with these Panzers. Panzers sitting in the back waiting for the push to arrive, though. Arrive it shall with a sea of flamethrowers burning out these Stoßtruppen. So, you know, I was thinking that these Stoßtruppen were a pretty good response, but when you have 14 flamethrowers, I'm not sure what the right answer to that is. I do think that vehicles are a good response. You know, these AT guns are the only answer his opponent has. Now, that said, his opponent is, you know, the British player's floating 300 manpower because he's memeing, right? He hasn't built anything other than a single armored car. That might be a dead Panzer IV. Yep, there it is. Wasn't quite far back enough. More Stoßtruppen on the field for our German player, so I don't mind that he's continuing to build these units. I think that heavy machine guns... I think that the days of these heavy machine guns sitting on points needs to come to an end. And he needs to be using these heavy machine guns in concert with his other units to deal with what are effectively blobs from his opponent, right? I mean, Wolfe's running around here with 3 of these Royal Engineers at a time. And with that many infantry, you have to have some form of crowd control or you're going to be hurting. That's what we're seeing here. AT guns sitting at max range there, pushing that Panzer IV away. German player just waiting for this push on the center point here. And you'll notice he's sitting pretty far back. Trooping getting a little close here. Absolutely shredding those Royal Engineers. Flanks coming in here. Panzer IV has to back up a little bit, seeing those AT guns coming in. mill grenades from these Royal Engineers. Or I guess they are technically demolition engineers. And wow. Yeah, you know how I was saying that our British player had lost some Royal Engineers earlier? He just does not care. Doesn't care even a little bit. Now my question... Yeah, see, he's still... This dude, he's still on a platoon command post. I don't know if any of you watch StarCraft 2, but I like to watch Euthermal, former pro player. He pretty much only... If he would probably describe himself as, you know, a permanent memer, right? He's just... Or, excuse me, cheeser, right? So he just cheeses every single game with these ridiculous builds, and he has a lot of fun doing it. And I guess that's what we're seeing out of Wolfe here. I don't know if this is cheese or a meme, but it's outrageous. That's what I know. So things are getting a little scary for our German here. It's down to 150 points. It's pretty much reached the point where he has to permanently focus on these victory points. Apparently lagging a little bit. Looks like our German is going to go for the King Tiger. About 100 manpower away. So about 30 seconds out. And actually, he's going to be timing his manpower and his fuel almost perfectly. I don't know if that was intentional or not. I do like this extra heavy machine gun and this extra engineer, right? He needs more repair power. He needs more crowd control. That's what he's getting. 3 AT guns, though, is going to be decent against a King Tiger. I'm a little bit surprised that our British player hasn't gone for a 17-pounder. I think that kind of feels like it would be a decent answer to what he's up against. That said, the 17-pounder has some pretty notable weaknesses and does require a significant amount of micro, so... Rail Engineers pushing in big time. Burning everything to a crisp. Stow trooping, actually doing okay, almost picking up a Royal Engineer. Grenades coming out into that swarm there. Panzer IV on the scene to help out. AT guns coming in to fight right now. Stow trooping continuing to blast away here. Royal Engineers absolutely everywhere. Might pick up this heavy machine gun, not quite. Might pick up the engineers on the way out, not quite either. Both players managing to get out with all their units here. And nice, well-executed push. Well, I don't know what to say about this build. Is it a well-executed push if you know, organize 15 Royal Engineers into an area and they just flame everything to death? I don't know. I thought it was a decent push. He was pushing at multiple angles. Getting flanks where he needed. Having his AT guns in position, so wasn't bad. But maybe I'll refrain from using the phrase nice push. Have machine guns hanging out together there. German is going to secure the middle. And, you know, our British players builds... I don't know. So, okay, so our German can't actually add on the heavy tank because he's pop-capped. How much does this take? 24? Can't see it behind there. I think it's 24, which is obviously a lot. I don't know that our German wants to lose any units. So, like, if he can control the space that he has, the space that he needs with the unit he has, I don't see any reason why he can't make this work. Heavy machine gun taking away this point is going to suppress a massive blob here. Might not see it, though. Not quite facing the right direction. Actually, a wonderful little flank here. Of course, the British player does know there's a heavy machine gun here because he couldn't see the unit taking the point. Heavy machine guns. Wow. Just getting absolutely obliterated. What is that? 7 engineering squads. Jeez. Yeah, that's a blob if I've ever seen one. Panzer IV seems afraid of what's happening over here. So normally this is the part of the game where I would talk about the fact that our British player has a huge number of options to himself to get him back into this game. I mean, he could literally add... Like, he has so much pop cap available to him that he could add a ton of tanks. I mean, just look at that fuel income, or that fuel. It's just outrageous. So, you know, I know he's memeing, but seriously, if he adds like even 2 tanks, he's going to be in really good shape this game. Instead, opting for 2 more Royal Engineers. Yeah, I mean, when your opponent that has this much HP on the field, what do? He's gonna add side skirts. Adding on a flak panzer now. I think that's reasonable. I was kind of thinking some indirect fire, but a Nubelwerfer doesn't feel right here. And this is weird. Is our British player gonna attack his opponent's base? I mean, he's gone around all the points. Looks like he's attempting to mount a distraction up front here. All of the German players' forces being brought to bear here. Threading the limited number of engineers in the area. Isn't quite going to pick that guy up. They should all make it out. AT guns probably going to set up on these heavy machine gun nests. Flamethrowers helping out. Is going to rip through these pretty quick. Flak pans are out actually just in time, except that he's in an awful position here. AT guns are going to absolutely annihilate that vehicle, especially with the help of those flamethrowers. Well done there. Now he can focus the second heavy machine gun nest on choosing to go for the Luftwaffe company instead. Probably the heavy machine gun next there is going to manage to destroy that from the looks of it. And all these squads are currently pinned, but going to become unsuppressed here momentarily. Flamethrowers blasting his opponent's base, and our German needs to come home right now with pretty much his entire army, which is the most ridiculous statement I've ever made. Going for the headquarters first, completely ignoring these Pioneer squad. Fine choice there. Flamethrowers doing a number. AT guns are going to destroy it. Panzer IV is in behind these AT guns, which is pretty scary for our Royal Engineers here, but I think he's just going to ignore the situation and continue to go for the buildings here, going for an annihilation victory here. German is returning with some units. There is a call in here. What is that? Is that the Jericho Trumpman? Okay, so demoralizing infantry there. But I don't know if it's going to be enough. 2 buildings to go. Does have a significant number of forces still available. All the tank guns going down except for 1, but it's not in a position to help out anyway. Panzer IV stuck in the smoke there. Might be thinking about getting involved. But that's, I mean, that's a dead building there. And only 1 to go. Oh, man. What a way to win that game. Wow, that might be the most ridiculous game of Company of Heroes 3 I've ever seen. I'm not even sure what to say. I don't think that build was good. I just think that Wolfe did so many unexpected things in a row that his opponent wasn't ready to deal with it. So, gosh, I hope you guys enjoyed that game as much as I did, because I thought it was hilarious, and I will see you in the next video.